Hello and welcome to another episode of Creature Club. I am your host, Mikey, and with me is my co-host, Daniel.
Hello.
And today we are continue on with more of our favorite flyboys, menacing giant lizard things, dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Dragons Part 2. If you haven't listened to the first dragon episode, maybe give that one a go, but it's up to you.
Next in the chromatic alphabetic order, which is the blue dragon, to follow the black dragon.
Yes, so we are doing the blue dragon.
So the blue dragon, so I suppose will we start by just saying what we have, what it looks like now that we're in the great 5th edition. So the blue dragon is, unsurprisingly for a dragon, a big lizard with wings. It's also unsurprisingly blue. Its feature, its distinguishing characteristic, is that it has a single large horn in the center of its forehead, not unlike a rhino. And its head takes on a certain skull-like properties. The blue dragon is attuned to lightning, so it has a lightning breath, unlike the black dragon last week, who breathed acid. And obviously the most famous dragons breathe fire. But we like all sorts here. And then it's kind of got like sort of a yellow underbelly and like yellow skin between its the tines of its wings. The tines are like those kind of long bits that come out. Yeah. They're basically like dragons, or like they're the wing version of fingers, effectively.
Yeah.
I think biologically, which is pretty cool. So it's kind of got blue tines, blue wing, bones, a blue kind of body, and then a yellow like undercarriage, and sort of I want to say fabric, but it's not fabric. The skin between its tines is also this kind of yellow sandy color, which plays into its preferred environment.
And last week, the black dragon, its main thing was that it was very greedy and malicious and a bit more evil than the rest of them. The blue dragons, or according to the 5th edition book, they seem to be the more vain and full of themselves when it comes to their own strength and power out of the chromatic dragons. And that's kind of their just personality trait, I guess, to differentiate them from the other ones. And I'm guessing, Dan, that the blue dragon has been around since dragons in D&D, since chromatic dragons, which has been since, I guess, day one. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, yeah. So we've had dragons as long as we've had Dungeons and Dragons, which shouldn't surprise anyone who doesn't always abbreviate D&D.
Yeah.
And they are, like a lot of the dragons and like a lot of creatures we talk about in 5th edition, they are very much their iconic selves. They almost return back to the features that are described in the 1st edition Monster Manual. So the blue dragon, or the Draco Electricus, if you feel like using the pseudo-Latin,
very cool.
Is the blue dragon. And everything it can do here is everything we're going to cover in 5th edition. But it's they are very similar. They look a bit more, I'd almost use the word generic when I talk about the original version of the dragon from AD&D, but that's not surprising. It sort of takes up until really 3rd edition for them to kind of develop a strong visual identity. Up until that point, the blue dragon from 1st and 2nd edition, both of them they still look like dragons, but they don't necessarily resemble as strongly the dragon we have now in 5th edition.
The black dragon from last week, their areas were the swamp. It seems that the blue dragons, their areas are mainly desert-y areas, or kind of, I'm guessing maybe canyons as well in that kind of way. I like what I found here on just on a quick glance at the wiki page. Its diet: meat from large animals such as camels, snakes, lizards, and also plants. So They just eat whatever they find in the desert, I guess, which is just maybe large snakes and camels. So, or not large camels, but large snakes in a D&D. You wouldn't have giant camels. Sorry,
you could. There's no reason you couldn't.
You could, cool. But that is But no, large snakes and lizards. That's a bit more D&D-esque, I guess.
Yeah,
that you would find in a desert. But watch out for those giant camels.
Giant enemy camels.
Watch out, agent.
So blue dragons are known to hang out in the deserts. They're also known as storm dragons, obviously because of their familiarity with lightning, their ability to sort of conjure storms and foul weather around themselves. But other than that, throughout the different versions of the game, they've had a pretty consistent power set and a pretty consistent I almost said point of view, but that feels weird and wrong for some reason. I guess like sort of maybe caricature or description in the different books.
Yeah.
So they've always been it's interesting because way back when in the first edition book, we don't necessarily get this big sort of character description where like it'll tell you, so like blue dragons are kind of supposed to be more vain, and like they'll tend to maybe try and degrade their opponents before just killing them, and like speaking and maybe even forcing someone to surrender and taking their money instead of just killing them and eating them, which like a black dragon would do. And instead of having this really big kind of character description of who they are, instead we get this really funny thing where at the end of each dragon stat block, it just says chance of, and then it lists 3 different things, which are speaking, magic use, or sleeping. And then it just gives a percentage chance of one of those things happening when they reach the dragon, which in some ways I really like, because it's almost like boiling down all of D&D into 3 choices. Like either it kills you with its lightning breath, or it tries to mock you, or it's already asleep and you get a free sneak attack.
Okay, so when your players are approaching your dragon like final room in your dungeon, you just do a quick little D whatever roll for
D100 or whatever.
Yeah, and one of these 3, and then
it's only ever doing one of these 3 things.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. I'd say that's a fun thing to put into like your games in general now. Just do that.
It's actually, it is fun. Like I think it's kind of funny. I mean, the funniest thing about the blue dragon is that it says chance of speaking 60%, chance of magic use 30%, and chance of sleeping 30%, which is 120%.
Yeah.
So it's just like the math isn't even right.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of funny. Like I don't know if the idea is like
dragons always give it 120%.
Oh yeah, that's it. You really got to be giving it like, as much as you can. But like, it is actually kind of cool. Yeah. There's something to be said for like, instead of sort of writing a bit of description, it says like, this is what blue dragons are like, just making a table that says, this is what they do when the players walk into the room.
Yeah.
In some ways that's probably more honest, like for what someone expects.
This is what they do, or this is what they are doing?
Both.
Because like I just picturing that now, that when your players walk in, you roll the dice and your dragon just falls asleep, like because of the event of your players walking in. Sorry, that's just the language that I hear there, like that. But
no, that's fair. Yeah, that's like the classic turn undead problem.
Yeah.
Like the language used. It's like, wait, what?
It's very important to make sure you know what the book is saying when you're playing D&D. Like
yeah. But that's kind of cool. And then as soon as you get second edition, we get this big habitat and society breakdown, like 3 paragraphs long, all about how blue dragons work. And that sort of kind of habit of how we talk about monsters continues for the rest of the editions. And I'm not here to complain about it. I mean, this is how the podcast works. Without those bits of text, it'd be probably a lot shorter.
Yeah.
But it is interesting in some ways to see how, when you approach, when you are like literally in the case of AD&D, like when you are literally building the game, you are kind of thinking about it still as a game, because obviously the people who made D&D come from like a wargaming background, come from all these different other games.
Yeah.
And so, they think about things in terms of like, well, there's got to be a probability, right? Like, so like, what's the chance that the dragon will speak to you before killing you? And so it's nice to have that number, not even to use, but just to have and be like, well, there's a little over a 50-50 chance that the dragon will hear you out before it eviscerates all of you or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, obviously in time that becomes the question of like, well, why does the dragon do that? And then we get a little bit more about who they are and what they want and why they behave the way they do.
I guess it makes sense that the blue one is like, it's a higher chance of it talking, because as he said, it does want to maybe speak you down because it just feels it's so superior to you. I know all dragons would probably think that, but this one's a bit more vain than the rest of them, because dragons might be smart and like confident in their power, but the blue dragons, I would like to interpret that they are just like, no, I am the strongest dragon, even though they might not be. And they might want to talk to you, say, you heroes, I will kill you. I can write that another time, but I can write something better. But just,
that's my first draft.
First draft. Die.
That's not going in front of the players.
Yeah. That's not in the final script. But yeah, like ham it up and do a bit of a dragon intro cutscene before you fight it, maybe. Or just a dialogue.
What is a man?
What is Havasi?
Fucking, that's such a great scene.
Mankind doesn't need ill savior like
Mankind
yourself.
ill needs a savior such as you.
That's it, yeah.
You steal men's souls. The same could be said of all religions. Your words are as empty as your soul.
No! Count Dracula!
It's great.
Yep.
And it's even better because I think at the start of the Symphony of the Night, it's like a really low poly version of them going like, I can't do need to say such as you. Like, you're like, I can't hear you under that scarf, man. I don't know what you're saying.
To protect the life cycle. Goldman.
Okay. What's this podcast about again?
It's
Goldman?
about House of the Dead
House
2.
of the Dead? Yeah.
So, is there anything new that we can go on about dragons, or is anything specific about blue dragons in the older editions other than what we mentioned already? Or is it all just kind of going on the same territory that we already talked about before?
I believe this isn't in the 5th edition book. One thing I did think was that so blue dragons, as we will get into, are kind of lawful, so they have an ordered hierarchical society. And one of the weird details that turns into in previous editions is it talks about how blue dragons are very responsible parents.
Okay.
Because they look after their young and they care deeply about the next generation. Which is not always the case. Like often dragons, especially evil dragons, will simply lay their eggs and then abandon them, because only the strong survive. But no, I mean, we basically have the dragon that we've always had. Obviously, in earlier editions, they had the choice to be spellcasters. In between now and then, they are spellcasters. Back in 2nd edition, they got spells. In 3rd edition, they also had spells. In 4th edition, dropped the spells, no more spells. And we still have that in 5th edition. But yeah, no, blue dragons are effectively as the same as they've ever been. Obviously, like in 5th edition, the rule still exists that you can choose to give them spellcasting.
Okay, yeah.
But the default assumption is that they don't have it, I think. So yeah, so will I read the blue dragon section here in our 5th edition book?
Go for it, Dan.
Vain and territorial, blue dragons soar through the skies over deserts, preying on caravans and plundering herds and settlements in the verdant lands beyond the desert's reach. These dragons can also be found in dry steppes, searing badlands, and rocky coasts. They guard their territories against all potential competitors, especially brass dragons. Oh, that's another thing. They've always had the rivalry with brass dragons. They've always been the antithesis to a brass dragon.
And are brass dragons also lightning breath, or?
That's a great question, Mikey, and it's not one I'm qualified to answer.
That's fine.
I'm going to assume the answer is yes.
While I was asking you that, I'm flipping through the pages real quick. So
good man. Consummate professional. Yeah, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
A blue dragon is recognized by its dramatic frilled ears and the massive ridged horn atop its blunt head.
The answer
Rows
is
of
no.
spikes. Oh, okay. What element is it, out of curiosity?
Fire and sleep breath. So
fire. Okay, fair enough. Well, I guess it makes sense. I mean, when you think about it mechanically, if they were both the lightning dragons, they couldn't hurt each other with their breath, so it'd be a really boring fight.
That's very true. Yeah. But continue, Dan.
Yes, of course. Rows of spike extend back from its nostrils to line its brow and cluster on its jutting lower jaw. A blue dragon's scales vary in color from an iridescent azure to a deep indigo, polished to a glossy finish by the desert sands. As the dragon ages, its scales become thicker and harder, and its hide hums and crackles with static electricity. These effects intensify when the dragon is angry or about to attack, giving off an odor of ozone and dusty air.
Very cool. Once again, a very cool description that they gave us here for the dragon. All right, number 2. Vain and deadly. A blue dragon will not stand for any remark or insinuation that it is weak or inferior, taking great pleasure in lording its power over humanoids and other lesser creatures. A blue dragon is a patient and methodical combatant. When fighting on its own terms, it turns combat into an extended affair of hours or even days, attacking from a distance with volleys of lightning, then flying well out of harm's reach when it waits, as it waits to attack again. So that's pretty interesting. That it just wants to, or not it wants to, but like it's just a smarter opponent really, that it doesn't really want to get up close and personal, because like, no, I'll die that way,
Yeah, knows its strength.
And all dragons should do that, but it might be detrimental to the game, I guess. But
yeah, it's interesting because there's one of the sort of default assumptions, I think, of especially of older editions, is that the only way to kill a dragon was to get to its lair, because that's the only time the dragon would fight to its death.
Yes.
And also the only time the dragon wouldn't be flying everywhere.
That's true.
But obviously we kind of, I guess it doesn't specify as clearly in 5th edition. Whether or not it needs to is kind of is an interesting question in itself. But on a very fundamental level, dragons very rarely, like, aside from maybe if a challenge is issued, they would very rarely go out to attack someone else. But yeah, no, it is nice that it specifically tells you here that if the party get the jump on a blue dragon, or if the dragon is deciding to kill the party, this is how it will fight. It won't fight on the party's terms, it'll fight on its terms, and then the game will become how the party deal with that. Which immediately sets an interesting precedent for how you run your game, which is always good, because it's nice, to think about this in terms of if you've never run a game before, it is nice to read this section of the book that just tells you this is what Blue Dragon does. That's
what it's all there for. Just kind of give you like this is what this monster does. This is recommended how you should use it, or not recommended, but like this is
how it should behave based on the fact that it's a living creature in the world, and it's not just there to be a bunch of hit points in like a meat sack that your players can slap until it explodes. Although that's fun too.
Get out your javelins, I think, if you're a fighter, and then you're
equip your 5 javelins and hope to God that you, I don't know.
Get them back somehow after you throw one, and then
I guess if they miss, you can go and pick them up. So
yes, just run over to it and pick it up and say, "I'll be right back."
Then you just get like ambushed while you're picking up a feckin' javelin on your own. The dragon just jumps you. Oh no!
Another encounter.
A separate encounter, or like it'd be hilarious if you were fighting a blue dragon and you were throwing your javelins, and if you missed, a kobold came up and like stole it, and you're like, "Get back here!
Get back here!
I need that!
I'm getting that guy." Then you have to do like 2 separate like
simultaneous combats.
No, but I'm thinking of like Dave, can you come back like tomorrow and we can do your separate adventure then, and then you have to do an entire separate campaign away from your players, just trying to get this
funny. If they were fighting like a really ancient like blue dragon, and then like the fighter goes off on his own and gets stuck in like a kobold dungeon, and like he's so high level that the kobolds can't like kill him, but they just like he keeps walking into traps, and he just has to use fighter abilities to get out of them. Like so he falls in a pit of spikes. He's just like ow, and has to like climb out. Like he's got no magic. He's just like, all right, well this sucks. Like so he just has like the worst 3 days of his life.
Yeah,
and like the rest of the party are like having a high adventure hunting this blue dragon.
I'm thinking of like Temple of Doom,
guys.
For some reason in my head. You just get into Temple of Doom.
That'd be fucking brilliant.
For some reason, I'm picturing Indiana Jones is a high-level fighter, even though he's more of a rogue, I think.
I'd certainly say he has a lot of roguelike qualities, but I understand that. He's very much an archetypal martial hero.
Yes.
Like rather than magical. He has no magic, as far as we know, aside from being very handsome, which is a sort of magic. Desert predators. Though they sometimes eat cacti and other desert plants to sate their great hunger, blue dragons are carnivores. They prefer to dine on herd animals, cooking those creatures with their lightning breath before gorging themselves. Their dining habits make blue dragons an enormous threat to desert caravans and nomadic tribes, which become convenient collections of food and treasure to the dragon's eye. When it hunts, a blue dragon buries itself in the desert sand so that only the horn on its nose pokes above the surface.
Like a shark. Dun dun. Dun, dun.
Appearing to be an outcropping of stone. When prey draws near, the dragon rises up, sand pouring from its wings like an avalanche as it attacks. That's a brilliant bit of imagery, actually. And would be a fantastic beginning to a fight with the dragon, especially if like one of your own, like if you're in the middle of the desert and like one of your camels just goes to look at this rock because it smells funny, and then like the start of the encounter is the dragon rises up and bites a camel in half, and you're just like, duh!
Like, oh my god, that just comes out of nowhere. That's a great introduction.
Man. And
I'm just loving the idea now. Just going through a desert, because you have to like traverse through a desert, and you're going on like a caravan, and you just see like a distance, like, oh, there's a storm coming, and like, that's kind of strange. Does that happen a lot? Like, nah, that's the blue dragon that lives here, or like, you can kind of do it a bit more of a, like, there's a legend that a beast creates that storm, and then like, oh, okay, let's stay away from that, or let's fight it, whatever you want to do. Just a bit of world building there for going through the desert.
I want its gold and treasure.
Yeah, that's what adventurers would do.
That's what they should do.
XP, please. All right.
They say there is a great sack of XP in that desert.
I want it now.
I want it.
It is mine. Overlords and minions. Minions 2. Why did I say that? Is there even a Minions 2?
Yes, there's a Minions 2. And you said that as I was drinking wine, so you're lucky that I didn't fucking ruin my shirt.
That would be... I would be so sad if you died that way, but I don't know. I would always tell that story of how...
I'd want to live on that way. Mm-hmm. I killed a guy with my Minions 2 reference.
I said no. I just said Minions 2 and it killed him.
You should sue the Minions guys and be like, "You killed my friend."
Not the first one they got, Daniel. Definitely not the first one. Overlords and minions. Blue dragons covet valuable and talented creatures whose service reinforces their sense of superiority. Bards, sages, artists, wizards, and assassins can become valuable agents for a blue dragon, which rewards loyal service handsomely. Like its dragon cult is full of all these kind of powerful kind of guys.
Yeah.
A blue dragon keeps its lair secret and well protected, and even its most trusted servants are rarely allowed within. It encourages ankegs, giant scorpions, and other creatures of the desert to dwell near its lair for additional security. Older blue dragons sometimes attract air elementals and other creatures to serve them. It's got a bit of a force here.
How do you think you attract an air elemental? Like, you know, the way, like, if you want to have, like, a feral cat around, you leave food out, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe, like, feed it once or twice. Do you think, like, to attract an air elemental, you have to, like, tear up a bunch of, like, paper and, like, leave it out in a pile somewhere? Or, like, get a bunch of, like, dry leaves?
Yeah, just, like, sweep a bit of leaves in the side. Or,
Yeah.
Or just take out some money, I guess. Like, take out a $5.
Yeah.
And then, like, you're about to pay for something and it just flies out of your hand. Like, there it is. Get him.
There it is. Get him. Get the net.
Get the net. I don't think the net's going to work.
The net is... Oh, why do you always say stuff like this?
I would do that, I guess. Or, I don't know, do a air elemental attraction dance. I'm so sorry for saying that. I just realized what I was saying halfway through. Air elemental attraction dance.
Oh.
Yeah, do that. Okay, next one. Please, move on.
Okay. Okay. Hoarder of gems. Though blue dragons collect anything that looks valuable, they are especially fond of gems. Considering blue to be the most noble and beautiful of colors, they covet sapphires, favoring jewelry and magic items adorned with those gems. A blue dragon buries its most valuable treasures deep in the sand, while scattering a few less valuable trinkets in plainer sight over hidden sinkholes to punish and eliminate would-be thieves.
Cool.
So now we know what kind of treasure they like. Immediately I'm thinking of how, like, it would be very interesting to have, a sort of a town with, like, a sapphire mine, and they have to give loads of the sapphires to a blue dragon as tribute, and that creates a way for the party to go and confront it.
Yeah.
And also, like, drama within the town, because, like, maybe the miners feel they're being overworked, but also, like, you know, the survival of the town in a very literal sense depends on enough sapphires being dug up.
Yeah, and also they don't want to, like, what if these heroes lose, then, you know, the dragon's gonna kill us, you know.
Yeah, there will be we will be the one making a payment if they, you know, go to the dragon and try to deal with it and fail. So
yeah, that'd be a bit bad. Yeah, so the black dragon, their favorite things was ancient relics. The blue dragon's favorite thing is gemstones, big old gems, shiny stuff.
Big old gems, especially sapphires or any other blue gemstone.
Meat and potatoes.
I thought you were going to say ancient blue dragon, but yeah,
Meat
that too.
And potatoes.
Gargantuan food, lawful evil.
Lawful evil?
Yeah, man.
It has a code.
It
right.
has a code.
Ancient blue dragon. Gargantuan dragon, lawful evil. Armor class 22, and that's natural armor. Hit points 481. So that is... Let me just compare it to our black dragon. That's more than the black dragon.
It's more than the black dragon.
Speed 40 feet. It has a burrow speed of 40 feet as well, and it can fly 80 feet. the burrow speed's cool because, as Dan described before already, he can go into the sand, into the desert, and track you from underneath and be like a shark with its horn. So that's a cool way of using him. Strength 29, Dex 10, Constitution 27, Intelligence 18, Wisdom 17, Charisma 21. So good stats, but it is a gargantuan monster.
Yes, correct.
Saving throws it has Dex, Con, Wiz, and Charisma. Skill proficiencies in Perception and Stealth. Damage immunities, Lightning, as expected. Senses, Blindside 60 feet, Dark Vision 120 feet, and Passive Perception 27. So there's no getting past this guy.
Yeah, jeez.
Languages, Common and Draconic, and sure, whatever other languages you want to give him. But that's not on the book. That's just a little extra thing I put in there.
Oh, cheeky.
Yeah, a little bit of a cheeky. I did a little wink to my microphone there.
You did. I saw it. Yeah. It came up in the waveform.
Yeah. Challenge rating 23, and that's 32,500 experience points for you to level yourself up with. I'll get you up a few levels if you were level 1. If you beat this thing as level 1.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know how.
Yeah, it would.
Maybe if you got the last hit in when you're following a higher level party.
They all die. You get the last hit, all the XP.
He's got legendary resistance, 3 a day. We went through this before, but legendary resistance, if a dragon fails a saving throw, it can choose to succeed it instead. So that's a great thing to give a boss monster, I think. But we've been through that one before. It's a good ability. Actions. Multi-attack. The dragon can use its frightful presence, which we'll get into, and then it makes 3 attacks: 1 with its bite, 2 with its claws. Bite, melee weapon attacks, plus 16 to hit, reach 15 feet, 1 target. Hit 20 or 2d10 plus 9 piercing damage, plus 11 2 or 2d10 lightning damage. The claw attack is a melee weapon attack, plus 16 to hit, reach 10 feet, 1 target, and the hit is 16 or 2d6 plus 9 slashing damage. It's also got a tail attack. The melee weapon attack plus 16 to hit, reach 20 feet, 1 target, hit 18 or 2d8 plus 9 bludgeoning damage. All right, that's that one.
Frightful presence. This is exactly the same as the one that the Black Dragon has. You better get used to hearing this text because you are going to hear it another 8 times. Each creature of the dragon's choice that is within 120 feet of the dragon and aware of it must succeed on a DC 20 wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. If a creature's saving throw is successful or the effect ends on it, the creature is immune to the dragon's frightful presence for the next 24 hours. I think the only difference is the DC of the wisdom saving throw. I don't actually know if it is different, but I imagine because that's based on, it was DC 19 for the Black Dragon. I believe it is based on their charisma modifier.
Maybe.
Like the bonus. But anyway, and then it has its lightning breath, which is much more exciting, which is recharge 5/6. We covered recharge powers last week, and we're not going to do it again.
Nope.
The dragon, because we got a lot of dragons to go through, folks. The dragon exhales lightning in a 120-foot line that is 10 feet wide. Each creature in that line must make a DC 23 dexterity saving throw, taking 88 or 16d10 lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. So that's fairly lethal. And as we know from the description we just read, this is what the players should expect if they are fighting the blue dragon. They should expect a lot of lightning breath from very long range, probably as much of the 120 feet as the dragon can make use of. So as far as they're concerned, it's coming out of, the same place arrows come from, like just far, far away. But so that's pretty dangerous, especially with the high damage and the very high dexterity saving throw. But of course, this is a challenge 23 monster, so we should expect nothing less.
Yeah.
And then it has legendary actions. These legendary actions are literally the exact same as the Black Dragon. We won't cover what legendary actions are. There's a little paragraph here, and we covered it the first week. But the actions are the same. They are detect, which is the dragon makes a wisdom perception check, which is basically this. It takes the search action, which allows it to try and find any sneaky rogues or invisible characters who are trying to avoid it, like Balbo in Lord of the Rings Zero.
Bulbous. Bulbous.
In Lord of the Rings Ground Zeroes.
I was just going to say the Horbit, and then like when you said your one, I just found it too funny.
Got him. It was so hard to unlock Hideo Kojima in that game. It wasn't really worth it.
What took you so long?
Tail attack. The dragon makes a tail attack or wing attack, which costs 2 actions. Dragon beats its wings. Each creature within 15 feet of the dragon must succeed on a DC 24 dexterity saving throw or take 2d6 plus 9 or 16 bludgeoning damage and be knocked prone. The dragon can then fly up to half its flying speed. I think the only thing I will mention about the wing attack we didn't mention last week is the wing attack has no effect if you pass the saving throw. You don't take half damage. You don't get pushed at all. It's basically all or nothing. Which, I mean, is fine. Just something to mention. Because unlike the lightning breath, if you pass, you're all good.
And last week when we did the Black Dragon, we said that we will not go into detail about the other iterations. But if this is your first Dragon episode, which I guess it shouldn't because we kind of go through a lot of stuff in the last episode, but whatever. I hope it's not. But anyway, no. As like last time, there is, with the dragons, there was 4 versions of it. There is the ancient one, which we're going through now. There's the adult one. There's the young one. And there's the wormling. So the adult one is pretty much has the exact same abilities, but it's just weaker on health and on the ability scores. So its its damage output and stuff like that's going to be a little bit less.
Yes, its accuracy, everything is going to be affected by that, but fundamentally, that's it. It's still got legendary actions. By the time we get to the young blue dragon, it has lost those legendary actions. Yes. And obviously its size and hit points and ability scores have gone down again. Other than that, it's the same thing. It's obviously dealing less damage. By the way, just if this wasn't entirely clear, because it is a lower level creature, in every iteration, the breath weapon is degrading. So it dealt 88 damage on average, but it doesn't deal that much when it's like a challenge 9 creature.
Yes.
For like obvious reasons. And then, yes, the major difference then is by the time we get to the wormling has no multi-attack. It can't use its claw or its tail, and it doesn't speak common, which is an interesting way to create a natural barrier to communication between the creature and the party.
Next, we have...
Talk about the layers?
The layers, that's right. The lair actions. So, a blue dragon's lair. Blue dragons make their lairs in barren places, using their lightning and their burrowing ability to carve out crystallized caverns and tunnels beneath the sands. So that's just cool. I really like that imagery there. Thunderstorms rage around a legendary blue dragon's lair, and narrow tubes lined with glassy sand ventilate the lair, all the while avoiding the deadly sinkholes that are the dragon's first line of defense, which would be literal sinkholes and also probably Ankeg and other burrowing creatures that would be underground with it. A blue dragon will collapse the caverns that make up its lair if that lair is invaded. A dragon then burrows out, leaving its attackers to be crushed and suffocated. When it returns later, it collects its possessions along with the wealth of the dead intruders. So before going into lair actions, I think it would be very fun if you defeat the blue dragon. You have to escape its lair, like at the end of a Metroid game, where you have a time limit to get out of there, or else the place explodes. All right, cool. Will we go 1 and 1, Dan, with the lair actions here?
Sounds like a plan. Lair actions. On initiative count 20, losing ties, the dragon takes a lair action, calls one of the following effects. The dragon can't use the same effect 2 rounds in a row. Part of the ceiling collapses above one creature that the dragon can see within 120 feet of it. The creature must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity saving throw or take 3d6, an average of 10 bludgeoning damage, and be knocked prone and buried. The buried creature is restrained and unable to breathe or stand up. A creature can take an action to make a DC 10 strength check, ending the buried state on a success.
A cloud of sand swirls about in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point the dragon can see within 120 feet of it. The cloud spreads around corners. There we go. Each creature in the cloud must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or be blinded for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on its success.
Finally, lightning arcs, forming a 5-foot wide line between 2 of the layer's solid surfaces that the dragon can see. They must be within 120 feet of the dragon and 120 feet of each other. Each creature in that line must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity saving throw or take 10 3d6 lightning damage.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, that one's just cool. It's very unusual. It's not that unusual really. It's just a damage effect in the line, but it's just very cool that it's just a fucking lightning leaps out of the wall and you're just like fucking hell. Like,
Yeah. Just the layers is going to be chaotic that it's hard to even stand around because you're just being hit with lightning because the place is like covered in it because of it's a layer of a blue dragon, you know.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's just static everywhere. Your hair is just going up, and when you touch your friends, it's like you get a shock. Shit.
I like the buried sort of almost condition that they use.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well because it does a number of things that are not necessarily unusual. Well, actually a little bit unusual. So you get knocked prone and buried, and if you're buried, you're restrained. But it also says you're unable to breathe or stand up, and I thought that was interesting because that introduces the potential to suffocate, which is like a very rare threat.
Yeah.
Used in the game. Almost all of the threats in D&D are condition or damage based. Obviously, it seems relatively straightforward to get out of the sand, and therefore ignore the condition. But even so, it's pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, and is that just like the sand from above just dropping on you? Is that what it's kind of saying? Or
yeah, I think the idea is like you're literally like under sand, and so the only bits of you someone can see is like your hands and legs sticking out.
Yeah, and then you're like, quick, save him, and then like maybe it's so heavy that you can't get it. It's hard to get out yourself, but a mate can just yank you out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there's nothing to suggest that, for example, an ally couldn't grab you and then pull you out of the sand.
Yeah.
It says you're unable to breathe or stand up. Although interesting, it doesn't say you're unable to move. So you could crawl out of the sand, I suppose. Oh, no, sorry. You're restrained. You can't move when you're restrained. Apologies.
Yeah. A creature can take an action to make a DC ending the buried state. So I guess that DC 10 strength check is you just squirming out of there, you know?
Yeah, or it says a creature, so presumably another creature. Like,
can yank you out.
Someone else can walk over and just do it for you. Or if you're like a ranger, for example, your animal companion could do it, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like your dog just unburies you. Very thematic.
Gets you out of a well.
Gets help.
Gets help. Get help, lassie.
The sand is interesting, the blinding sand. In some ways, that seems like the most dangerous of the lair actions because you are blinded for a minute, and being blinded is bad for a bunch of reasons. But just because the save DC to end it, DC 15, is higher than the save to get out of the buried the pile of sand, basically.
You know, I guess it's pretty high. It might not be that high for people that level, but it's still, it's still a...
Yeah, there's still just a chance. Like, if you're playing a character who's not trained in Constitution saving throws, it's still probably like, you need like a 12 or higher to not be blinded.
Yeah. Which
means it's not entirely unlikely that you fail initially, and even being blinded for one round is pretty bad.
If you're a ranged combatant, then you're pardon my French here, but you're fucked. I'm gonna be honest with you, Dan. You're fucked if that happens. All right.
You're actually. The other thing about it is obviously that the cloud is actually the biggest of the three effects. Well, I guess it depends technically because it's a 20-foot radius sphere, which is huge. So that's a big that's there's a lot of room there. You'll almost certainly affect multiple combatants when you do that. It's also interesting that technically the dragon can call down the cloud on itself and risk itself going blind to affect, say, a number of melee fighters at once. Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
Maybe it's confident in its constitution score of 27 that it'll pass that one.
If you can imagine. Yeah. And it's a legendary resistance that allows it to choose to ignore it if it's actually a problem.
Plus 15
actually, no, sorry.
It's that saving throw.
It doesn't matter if a dragon blinds itself because it has blind sight. So
yeah, it's probably going through sand all the time. Actually, it's fine with that.
And then finally, there's the lightning arc, which is very interesting because it's a 5-foot wide line between two of the layer's solid surfaces. But it doesn't. And then it says they must be within 120 feet of the dragon, 120 feet of each other. It does not say the line has to be straight. I don't know if it's like one of those things where, like in 5th edition, lines are like fundamentally straight, like it's one of their like core characteristics or whatever. Yeah. But assuming it's not, and the lightning can zigzag like lightning does, then this attack will probably hit everyone. It's a really big area. It's literally like 120-foot radius within the dragon. Every creature in that zone gets hit by lightning. Which is obviously why it's so little damage, because it's like when you think about it, it's like it's basically it's going to be like 5 creatures each making a saving throw, each taking potentially 10 damage or more. So it's more like 50 damage, up to 50 damage in an attack.
Yeah. I was going to ask if it's like the lightning bolt spell where it can also hit adjacent people, but it's not exactly a bit like that.
No, it's a little different, but it's cool, and it's pretty interesting, certainly. And obviously, the another fun thing about this, just in terms of the dragon, is that the dragon can let the lightning hit it because it is immune to lightning damage.
Yeah.
So obviously, it can just suffer no damage and be hit by lightning.
Yeah.
And in fact, it acting like the middle of one of those like psychedelic orb things, that like shoot lightning everywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And like the idea of the lightning coming in and out of the dragon multiple times but hitting every party member.
Yeah.
Is actually pretty cool.
That's very cool. Acting kind of like a conductor for the...
Yeah, literally. Like maybe even like if it deals enough damage to the party, you could let it heal the dragon, which would be kind of cool.
That's a bit of fun, yeah.
And then there are the regional effects.
Yes.
The region containing a legendary blue dragon's lair is warped by the dragon's magic, creates one or more of the following effect. Thunderstorms rage within 6 miles of the lair. So that's fairly generic, just like thunderstorms nearby.
Yep.
But it sets the tone. It's effective for letting you know there might be dragons around, or just that thunderstorms are happening.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. And obviously thunderstorms are kind of innately dangerous if you are in a desert and the only source of metal in the desert is like the sword you're carrying. You're suddenly like, I wish I was maybe not carrying the sword.
Yeah.
The dragon doesn't care because it's lightning proof.
It's like in Breath in the Wild where you don't realize you have a metal sword and then you're just like, what's happening?
Or like
and
a metal bow or whatever. And it's like,
and you get hit with a lightning bolt and you're like, what the hell? Why did that happen?
yeah, it's bad news.
And then you die.
And then you die.
Sorry,
You die a
spoilers,
lot in that
guys,
game.
but you die in that game.
Link fucking dies.
Yeah, he bites the dust.
The Dust Devils.
Ah.
Dust Devils scour the land within 6 miles of the lair. A Dust Devil has the statistics of an air elemental, but it can't fly, has a speed of 20 feet, and has an intelligence and charisma of 1. So
Does yours
-5.
Does yours say 20 feet?
Sorry, 50 feet. Apologies.
I thought it was another weird mistake me on it. But yes,
That'd
50
actually be
feet.
kind of interesting. If they were 20 feet, they'd be slower than the party. Which
Yeah.
would actually be really interesting because it would mean like they could chase the party, but they can only catch the party if the party stopped moving.
Yeah.
So now the party have to keep moving through the desert all the time, which is actually like a really interesting challenge. Just like if you stop moving, you'll be in combat. That's kind of cool. Sorry, go on.
But I'm just saying that, like, like wind and like dust would go fast. So just because it doesn't really make sense
Yes, of course.
actually what's like. But that is a cool concept of what you said there, Daniel. Too bad it's not exactly.
Too bad you're a fucking idiot.
Too bad you're wrong. No, but like that's too bad it's just not what it's on the book. But you can make it that.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Hidden sinkholes form in and around the dragon's lair. A sinkhole can be spotted from a safe distance with a successful DC 20 perception check. It's worth noting here that the passive perception of the dragon means it will always know where sinkholes are in its own lair.
Yes.
Otherwise, the first creature to step on the thin crust covering the sinkhole must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity saving throw or fall 1d6 by 10 feet into the sinkhole. Man, that is a weird calculation.
Yeah, let's do some math, man. I know D&D's a lot of math, but that's just more.
It's weird to see 1d6 times 10 feet.
Yes.
I think that might be one of the only times you ever see that in the monster manual.
Yeah, your calculator.
It's cool though.
Even though it's not even that hard, I guess. It's
No, it's
times
not.
10. That's just me being bad at maths.
If the dragon dies, the dust devils disappear immediately and the thunderstorms abate within 1d10 days. Any sinkholes remain where they are. So again, that's like the idea of like the swamp, some of it being left behind, like the undergrowth being left behind after the black dragon has passed. That if a dragon lives somewhere long enough, even if it passed on or moved to a different layer, the sinkholes remain where they are. So we can assume that if a desert is inhabited by a dragon long enough, it probably becomes full of sinkholes. So that like the desert maybe even builds up a reputation for having those sinkholes and being unreliable. And so maybe it's like at some stage people avoided it because it had a dragon, and then they avoided it because of the sinkholes. And now the dragon's gone, and maybe it has some funny like name. Maybe it has some like name that's an oblique reference to the dragon, but the dragon's long since moved on. But the sinkholes are still there, so the desert itself is still like unreliable.
Yeah, and maybe there's like you need like desert guides to get through the desert or something. Like you can't do it yourself, or else you can like just fall through these sinkholes, and there's like loads of them around the place.
You can. I mean, like what I'd always say is like you can do it yourself, but if you do, you will fall in the sinkholes.
Yes.
And like there will definitely be bandits in the desert who know where all the sinkholes are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can go with a desert guide and you get attacked by bandits, or you can
You
just
fall in one of the sinkholes, and they're like, "Hey, gringo, give us your hat." And
and like, why would I do that? John Marston yelled a lot.
He's a loud man.
Yeah.
So those are all the regionale effects. Shall we jump into the dessert? Get our feet wet in the custard.
Let's do it. Play that music. Let's just jump in.
Let's just fucking vibe it out, man. Let's just do it.
We'll just see how it goes.
Let's just see how it goes.
Hello. Welcome back to Creature
Hi,
Club.
welcome.
I am Mikey with my host Daniel.
Hi.
Daniel, please tell us. Before the break, you were telling us about the blue dragons. What's up with that?
I don't fucking know, man.
I don't know, dude.
Oh, I know, it's a fucking trip, man.
It's
So blue dragons, like most dragons in this book, we get a pretty good idea of how to use them. We get an idea that they are based in a layer, that their magic affects the world around them. They're kind of a powerful individual. This one has underlings serving it, and it has a certain way of behaving. So we have a pretty strong idea of how the blue dragon sort of acts, maybe in a normal sense. So firstly, in terms of its sort of battle prowess, because we learn that the dragon, if it fights on its own terms, it will fight at range using its lightning breath. So we can kind of say that the lightning breath of the dragon, because of the fact that it's recharged 5/6, so that's a 1 in 3 chance. So that means every 3 rounds the dragon gets its breath back.
Yeah.
Which is about every 18 seconds, but obviously there's a chance that it's not. So we might say that the dragon can breathe its lightning breath twice a minute, just to simplify that slightly. I mean, it's probably closer to say, 5 times a minute on a good day? Is that right? I don't know.
maybe.
Maybe. I'm trying to do the math, but I think I'm doing it wrong. I'm thinking 5 by 18. No, that's 90. So it would be more like, maybe just 3 by 18. But anyway, so we can say 2 or 3 times, but let's just say 2 conservatively, which means that basically in the context of a non sort of D&D combat encounter, the dragon can always breathe lightning, right? Like recharge 5/6 feels long in combat rounds, but in terms of how the world works, it's not very long at all.
Yeah.
So what I'm immediately thinking about is how it says that it uses its lightning breath at long range. So we can assume that if it uses that against caravans or whatever, it's going to come in so regularly that it's going to be almost impossible to mount a defense, and your best bet is just having heroes to hand to deal with it. But even in terms of party members fighting a dragon, if they're fighting it like that, then really their only bet is to try and get to cover or do something that will avoid the lightning breath, because otherwise, just in terms of the fact that they will take half damage even if they pass the saving throw.
Yeah.
They'll die pretty soon, and the dragon can breathe like lightning for a very long time.
I was actually trying to look for lightning spells, because I wanted to think about what kind of spells we can give this guy, and I was just trying to find a way to find it, but I just can't seem to just search them up. I should have looked them up before this.
Well, the sort of iconic one would be lightning bolt, but unfortunately the lightning breath is similar enough to that.
Yeah, and just a bit better as well.
Yeah.
Well, thunderstorm or storm or something like that. There's a lot of stormy kind of spells.
So the most obvious one, based on everything we know about the dragon, would probably be coal lightning, I believe it's called, which is just a spell that lets you summon a cloud above you and call down lightning for a couple of rounds.
Yeah.
And it does stuff like if there's already a storm in progress, it's more powerful and things like that.
Maybe you can kind of call a storm when it's coming, and then oh no, it's here, and then it just lightning is shooting all around the place, and it's just fly through the lightning and just starts attacking you. It can just be a fun way to add a bit more chaos to the battlefield as well. And seeing as it would probably already have thunderstorms near it as it is, it'll just be a powerful version of thunderstorm. Maybe thunder wave as well can be an attack, but that's not really great. I guess it's not a great spell. It's kind of a very low level spell, I think.
Well, I mean, it's still a unique effect. It still does something. I suppose the thing is, right, rather than worrying about the level of spells, what we should really think about is the dragon at the moment can basically hit things to deal damage or use its lightning breath to deal damage at range. So something like Thunderwave or maybe Shatter are good spells because they let the dragon do things it can't do otherwise. So like Thunderwave could very easily represent like the dragon roaring.
Yes.
And it's unique because it's a push effect. So then all of the creatures would be pushed, which it seems like based on what we've read from the monster manual, the dragon would want that because it would want to move the party away from it so that it can stay at range and breathe its lightning breath.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other one, yes, of course, Cold Lightning would be good. That's the one that summons a spell. It's kind of fun because it's a concentration spell. So you could have the dragon concentrating on that, and then it basically can call down. When it casts it, it calls down a lightning bolt, and every turn it has the spell up, it can use an action to call down another lightning bolt.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. It is useful for the dragon because it is each creature within 5 foot of a point you choose that you can see makes a dexterity saving throw. So it actually creates like a 5-foot radius of damage. So like that's a small area, and the dragon doesn't really have spells like that, other than its breath, which is like a big line.
Yeah.
And actually creating like little circular points of damage is something that's very unique for it.
Okay.
And obviously the other cool thing about Cold Lightning is like every other spell that deals lightning damage, the dragon can safely call lightning on itself because it cannot take lightning damage.
Yeah.
It can also fly into the storm because you summon a storm cloud with this spell. So it can also fly into that storm cloud to get cover. And again, it's at no risk from the storm cloud because it is still immune to lightning damage.
Ooh, that'll be fun if you're like in an airship or something, and it's just you're like, quick, it's over there in the storm cloud, and they're like, we're not going into a storm cloud. Like, yeah, we are, and he just grab the wheel and just go in.
Sorry, just the way you said that was so real. Like,
yeah,
the actual helmsman, like, we're not, like, no, like that's not happening.
Like, yeah, we are. And you just push him over, and then
fucking nerd.
And with that being said, actually,
and then you all die.
Yeah, you all die because you shouldn't have done that. But with that being said, different scenarios you can use the blue dragon. Obvious, the one would be in the desert, going through like a desert caravan, but that's kind of what was given in the book. You could do on the sea or in the air with airships. I think in the sea would be fun, but also he'll be kind of at a disadvantage because he can't swim or anything, or he might not go out there. You can like knock him over and he's just like in the water and it's like, I'm drowning, help. I'm dying.
Oh my god, I'm gonna die. Should we do
maybe
something? No.
Maybe an underground dwarven city. This thing is like deeper in the mines or something, like the Balrog or something, and he would dig up and attack you guys at some point, but maybe no one knows about it. It's kind of a secret. And yeah, and maybe a canyon, a big old ravine or canyon as well. You can be somewhere around there. That's dark and misty, and maybe stormy as well, like the Stormy Canyon, it can be called. But there's lots of different places you can put this guy. It's cool.
Yeah. The only thing I will add, just about spellcasting, is there's also Chain Lightning, which is the spell where you hit a target and then it bounces to other targets. And it's a really good spell. It's very high damage spell. It's 6th level.
Right.
But a cool thing you could do with it is, we see in the description of sort of the followers of the Blue Dragon, it mentions that they have sages and wizards under them. And so what you could have is a wizard who fights for the dragon, and during the battle casts Chain Lightning on the dragon to then bounce it to all of the other party members.
Right.
Because again, there's no way for it to take damage from lightning spells. So it's sort of using it as like, again, that idea of it using it as a conductor. And like maybe there's some benefit, like it deals extra damage, or I think a really simple way to do it would just be to give the dragon like temporary HP whenever it takes lightning damage. Something like that would be kind of cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, so like just in the notion of spell casting. But
yeah,
please, sorry, Mikey, go ahead.
I was gonna say that, and then your players be like, kill the wizard. Get him. beat that guy up first.
Hey, go get that guy.
Wait, he's helping him.
Hey, what the hell?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, just run over and you start, stop it.
Yeah. So we got time to, as we said before, we might, I think in the last episode, that we might not go into huge detail about how we use dragons just yet. We'll kind of talk about that towards the end of the series. But we're already talking a little bit about how we like to use them. But
just some specific stuff for the blue dragon.
Yeah. specifically a blue dragon, Daniel, is there any ideas for a campaign or an adventure that you would use this guy for?
So I think I like the idea of there's a lot of setup for kind of like the legacy of blue dragons here.
Okay.
I mean, like one of the most obvious things is it says that they bury their treasure. So even if you wanted to so a really cool game using a blue dragon that wouldn't even have to feature a blue dragon could be, there's a blue dragon lair up in the mountains, right? Maybe it's an adult or maybe it's ancient, but it's a very powerful blue dragon. The locals in a town which your party are starting in have somehow placated the dragon, and the dragon has vanished. There's no signs of it, right? The skies above the lair have been quiet for months, and there are rumors that the dragon has gone far away pursuing some great treasure, and while it's gone, that lair full of treasure is unprotected. And so now the party are thinking about, like, you know, navigating this treacherous desert full of sinkholes and dust devils and like all the other followers of the blue dragon. But like the blue dragon itself is kind of this absent threat, but like a looming one where at any moment it might return, right? Just re-emerge from the skies, and you're like halfway through digging up its favorite gemstone. You're like, nothing. But yeah, I just got that impression from kind of like the way it talks about how it buries its treasure. But like it is still kind of like, unlike the black dragon, which kind of dirties and soils all its treasure and kind of destroys them, the blue dragon hoards them and buries them. It like almost does like, you know, what like pirates did, right, to save their treasure, like bury them under sand, because then it's very hard to find them unless you know where they are. And there's just the idea that you are going after that and trying to find literally like the lost treasure of this dragon.
Okay.
But maybe with the kind of added threat that the dragon can return. And, you know, you just have to hope that like when it does, you've either like scarpered or you have found an item powerful enough to actually kill the dragon and free your town.
That's cool. When you said legacy of blue dragons, I thought you were also going to lean to the like it's like the responsible parent side of it as well. Like some sort of like a like the son of a powerful blue dragon is here or something. But I just don't know how you would do that as like in a D&D kind of game, other than you defeated this black dragon before, now comes its son for round 2 or something. I don't know. But
isn't that the plot of like Jaws 3?
Maybe. I'll never tell.
I can't remember.
I'm not supposed to talk. I'm not supposed to say my influences. Yes, I'm pretty sure it's the it's Jaws 2 or 3. Sorry, Jaws 2 or Jaws 3D. Daniel, that's the name.
Oh, apologies, God, I'm so sorry. I think it's Jaws 3D because I think Jaws 2 is funny because Jaws 2 is just another big shark and there's like no explanation for like.
Yes, and Jaws 3D is like the revenge, or Jaws 4. Let me have a look here. Hold on.
Okay. You check, because what I remember is like Jaws 2 like is funny because like there's like no plot. Jaws 2 is just like another fucking shark shows up. Like, what are the chances? And it's just great. And then like there's like then later on one of the other Jaws is like it's actually a revenge story, which I don't know, I really like.
Have you seen this clip, Dan, of the shark going through the glass wall? You can skip through it a bit.
All right, I'm gonna go. You can keep all this in, whoever's editing it.
Yeah, I think it'll be me.
The 2-minute Jaws 3D, the end, the exploding shark, 1983. All right, let's watch this. I've been served an ad.
No, I'm watching it now.
All right, so we have, that is a really bad looking shark. It's not a great looking shark, fellas. So they're in this kind of underwater base. They've all got very surprised expressions. Oh, slow-mo. That is... What the fuck? They're freaking out. This shark's barely moving. What are they so upset about? Oh, Jesus. That was very thin glass, it looked like.
Yeah.
Very dark, I'm noticing. It's hard to tell if it...
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, that lad's been at. He's somehow screaming underwater, which is a bit weird.
Yeah.
How is he able to do anything with just his mouth in there?
Yeah.
What's he doing? Oh, they're confused. Oh, they're pointing in his mouth. Look, people are just swimming. The scene is just people swimming. Jeez, the shark was very good at killing one lad, and now it's just sort of hanging out. Like it seems like it's sort of
yeah.
Like it seems like it's kind of got bored or something. Music's all right though. It's very tense. Oh, tried to get the thing in his mouth, but we couldn't do it. I think he had like a bent stick. Oh, it's a grenade, and they're gonna. Oh, there you go. Zoom into what is definitely not the same area. It's just a different shot entirely. Oh yeah, that shark definitely exploded. That's definitely the same explosion. Holy,
The exploding
those
shark.
bits.
And it was in 3D, Daniel. It's going towards you. And you're like in the theater, like,
Oh,
oh no.
well done.
Yeah, it turns out Jaws the Revenge is Jaws 4.
Oh, sorry.
I think Jaws 3D is the same shark.
What?
Or not. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Revenge is the same shark? I could read the plot here, but I just not bothered. It's a lot of writing.
I don't want you to, so it's fine.
That's our Let's Watch of Jaws 3D.
That was great. We're definitely going to get fucking copyright taken down for that.
No, we're not. You can't hear it in the background. You just hear a commentary.
Yeah, just make sure. Yeah, like there's no recognizable material in that.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Yes, the legacy of the Blue Dragon. Like, you can have a revenge story, I guess, if you want, but not. I don't know. You could do that. I'm not really a huge fan of that, but you could do it.
Oh, yeah, you could. Yeah, but I think we can leave it there. As you say, we don't want to necessarily go too much into it until we do a big dragon palooza.
I think so. We have about reached that time there. So if you guys liked what you listened to and you haven't subscribed already, then what are you doing, man? Click that button and subscribe to us for more episodes of this. And if you like the Dragon series, then there's going to be more. It's good. We're going to keep doing it for a long while. Yeah. So, and on whatever podcast app you use, leave a review. It always helps us out. Leave a rate, a comment, whatever you want to do with that one. If you want to contact us, we have lots of different ways to do that. First of all,
yeah, we do.
creatureclubpodcast.com. Is that the website? It is.
It is.
You can go to the contact us form there and let us know whatever you want to know. You can say, hey, you can send us in homebrew things that you have created yourself or that you found other people use, but as long as you give credit to the actual person who's done it, that'll be great. You can send us an email with creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. That's our email. Or you can contact us on Twitter for any shorter comments or queries, or just saying, hey,
short form questions mid-game, for example.
Yes. Like, I don't know, what do you think about elves?
Yep. There it is.
Yeah. And we're like, pretty cool. I like them. But no, I didn't even say to Twitter. It's at Creature Club Pod, or if you just look up Creature Club Podcast, you will find us there. All the familiar branding that you might know already from whatever we're on. Anything else, Dan?
Only that we have just updated our podcasting icon, which you may have noticed. I don't know what aggregator anyone uses, but now we've got our nice new logo, which was the exact composition of the logo was just something we worked out, but it's got the cool new background that Michael Morton made for us last year, which is like really kind of fun and purple and like super aesthetic.
Yeah.
I really like it.
It's very cool.
So we're using that, which is good because it's worth using.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, so that's the only other thing I'd say is that if you've noticed that, I hope you enjoy it because it just looks nice. I just look at it and I go, that's a bit more professional, That's something you could put that on a business card and give it to someone and say like, how you getting on? How you doing?
Hey, yeah, this is my business card, creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. And then that's not a business card, it's an email, but thank you very much. Yeah, no, that's it. Let us know what you think, guys, and join us next time for another episode of something. Most likely dragons, maybe something else.
Yeah.
We'll never tell.
Exactly. We won't. It's true.
Yeah.
We can't.
We hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we love you very much. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I have been Mikey.
And I've been Dan.
Stay cool.